What if I told you that for under $3, you could completely replace every anti-aging serum, wrinkle cream, and collagen bottle sitting on your bathroom shelf right now? Not a watered-down version, not something that kind of works. I mean a formula so effective at reversing visible skin aging that a $240 billion industry spent decades making sure you'd never stumble across it. This formula doesn't require a prescription. You don't need a dermatologist. You don't even need to order it online and wait a week. It exists in almost every grocery store, every pharmacy, every corner shop, and it has for centuries. The science behind it is not new. Ancient healers documented it, chemists rediscovered it, universities confirmed it, and then quietly it disappeared from mainstream conversation. While skincare brands charge you $80, $120, even $300 for a tiny jar of product, the actual active compounds responsible for reversing collagen loss, reducing oxidative stress on skin cells, and restoring elasticity cost almost nothing. The brands know it. They built their entire empire around making sure you don't. Today, that ends. The global skincare and anti-aging industry is worth $240 billion as of this year. That number isn't an accident. It's the result of a very deliberate economic architecture, built on one core principle: you must never feel like you have enough. Every year, the formula changes. The buzzword changes. Retinol becomes peptides. Peptides become ceramides. Ceramides become bio-fermented microbiome serums. The carousel never stops, and neither does your spending. Here's the part they don't advertise: the foundational mechanism by which human skin repairs itself, regenerates collagen, and resists environmental oxidative damage has been understood for well over 1,000 years. And the raw materials that support that mechanism cannot be patented. They cannot be trademarked. No corporation on earth can put their name on them and stop a competitor from selling the same thing. When something can't be owned, the next best move is to bury it. They didn't do this by lying to you directly. They did it by flooding every screen, every magazine, every influencer feed with proprietary branded alternatives. By the time most people hear about this formula, this two-part compound combination that ancient cultures used as their primary skin treatment, they assume it must be primitive, outdated, replaced by something better. It wasn't replaced. It was hidden. 1,400 years before the first commercial cosmetics factory opened its doors, healers across 3 continents were already using this formula. Let's start in ancient Egypt. Not with Cleopatra's famous milk baths, which were real but secondary, but with the actual medical papyri recovered from Deir el-Medina, the village that housed the workers who built the Valley of the Kings. Archaeological analysis of their personal effects, dating to roughly 1300 BCE, shows evidence of 2 naturally occurring plant-derived oils being used in combination. One thick and amber-colored, one lighter and more penetrating, applied to the face and neck after sun exposure to maintain elasticity and prevent cracking. Egyptian physicians understood, without modern chemistry to explain why, that these 2 substances together performed better than either did alone. Move forward to the Persian Empire, approximately the 5th century BCE. Persian court physicians documented in the Avesta, the sacred Zoroastrian texts, specific topical treatments for maintaining the appearance of skin among nobility. Among these formulations was a compound described as extracted from the seeds of the plant of persistence, known for its deep amber color and its resistance to drying out even in desert heat. Persian healers blended this with a lighter, more volatile oil pressed from seeds gathered in autumn, which they noted produced a more complete skin penetration than either substance alone. By the 7th century CE, Ayurvedic medicine in the Indian subcontinent had formalized the combination into a documented treatment. The Ashtanga Hridayam, one of the foundational texts of Ayurvedic practice, specifically names the pairing of thick seed-pressed oils with what we would now classify as tocopherol-rich compounds, substances that, we now understand, prevent lipid peroxidation at the cellular level. Indian physicians weren't using that language, of course. They described the combination as creating a boundary between the skin and the sky, meaning it formed a protective layer that the environment couldn't penetrate. In medieval West Africa, specifically among the Yoruba and Hausa peoples of the Niger Delta region, skincare was a sophisticated communal practice. Elderly women passed formulations to daughters, and historical accounts from Portuguese traders who encountered these communities in the 1400s describe locals with skin that appeared decades younger than their age would suggest. These traders noted that the women applied a dark, viscous oil each evening combined with a lighter extract, a practice so common it was simply considered basic hygiene. Japanese court records from the Heian period, roughly 794 to 1185 CE, document noblewomen using a thick plant oil in combination with a second pressed extract for face treatment. The Makura no Soshi, or Pillow Book, written by Sei Shonagon around the year 1000, references skin oils used by court ladies as essential items. Analysis of period cosmetic containers recovered from archaeological sites near Kyoto shows residue consistent with the two compounds we're discussing. In indigenous communities across the Americas, particularly among Cherokee healers in the southeast United States and Zapotec healers in what is now Oaxaca, Mexico, thick seed-pressed oils were used specifically for skin that had been damaged by sun, cold, or age. Cherokee medicine bundles recovered from the 1700s included small clay vessels with plant oil residue, consistent with a specific fatty acid composition that modern chemistry would not independently identify until the 20th century. What is extraordinary is not that these cultures used these compounds. What is extraordinary is that they converged on the same two-substance combination, independently, across thousands of miles and thousands of years. That convergence is not coincidence. It is signal. The scientist who first formally documented and analyzed this convergence was Dr. Stanislaw Brzezinski's contemporary, biochemist Denham Harmon, who in 1956 published his landmark Free Radical Theory of Aging at the University of Nebraska. Harmon's work explained for the first time in molecular terms why these ancient formulas worked, because the active compounds in the oils being used were doing exactly what the ancients observed, scavenging the reactive oxygen species that degrade skin collagen and accelerate visible aging. Ancient healers didn't have the language of free radicals, but they had millennia of observation, and what they observed was correct. Here is what is actually happening at the cellular level when this formula is applied, and why it works better than anything a $120 branded serum can deliver. Human skin aging is driven by two primary mechanisms: oxidative stress and collagen degradation. Oxidative stress occurs when reactive oxygen species, also called free radicals, attack the lipid bilayer of skin cells, breaking down the structural proteins that keep skin firm and elastic. Collagen degradation accelerates this process as the enzyme matrix metalloproteinase 1, MMP1, is upregulated by UV exposure and environmental pollutants, systematically dismantling the dermal collagen matrix. The first active compound in this formula is a dense, long-chain fatty acid known as ricinoleic acid, a monounsaturated omega-9 fatty acid with an unusual hydroxyl group that gives it exceptional skin penetration and anti-inflammatory properties. Ricinoleic acid has been shown in studies published by the Journal of Oleoscience to reduce transepidermal water loss by up to 26% compared to untreated skin, and to inhibit the production of prostaglandin E2, a key inflammatory mediator that accelerates collagen breakdown. The second active compound is alpha-tocopherol, the most bioavailable form of vitamin E, a fat-soluble antioxidant that directly neutralizes free radicals before they can attack skin cell lipid membranes. Alpha-tocopherol works via a chain-breaking antioxidant mechanism. It donates a hydrogen atom to a reactive oxygen species, stabilizing it and terminating the oxidative chain reaction. Research from the Linus Pauling Institute at Oregon State University has confirmed that topically applied alpha-tocopherol penetrates into the stratum corneum, and deeper epidermal layers within 30 minutes of application, with measurable antioxidant activity persisting for up to 8 hours. When these two compounds are combined, something important happens. The ricinoleic acid acts as a penetration carrier for the alpha-tocopherol, allowing it to reach the deeper dermal layers where collagen synthesis actually occurs. This synergy, a lipophilic penetration enhancer paired with a fat-soluble antioxidant, is the exact mechanism that high-end skincare brands replicate in their proprietary formulas at extraordinary cost, using synthesized analogs of the same molecules. Mainstream moisturizers, by contrast, are primarily water-based emulsions. The aqueous base feels immediately satisfying on skin, but evaporates rapidly, delivering minimal active compound to the dermis. The emulsifiers used to stabilize these water-oil blends often include PEG compounds, polyethylene glycols, which can disrupt the skin's natural lipid barrier over time, increasing long-term sensitivity and dependence on moisturizers. You're not treating your skin, you're creating a cycle. The formula we're discussing does the opposite. It reinforces the skin's own lipid barrier, it delivers antioxidants at depth, and at the molecular level, it does this more efficiently than most branded alternatives for a fraction of the price. The global anti-aging skincare market is projected to reach $421 billion by 2030. That number represents the monetization of a single human insecurity, and it was built systematically on burying the exact formula we're about to discuss. Let's be specific about how that happened. In the 1950s, the post-war synthetic chemistry industry exploded. Companies like DuPont, Dow Chemical, and newly formed cosmetic conglomerates recognized that plant-derived oils, while effective, were impossible to patent. Nature cannot be owned, but a synthetic analog of a natural compound, slightly modified in a laboratory, that can be trademarked, branded, and sold at a 4,000% markup. Procter & Gamble, Unilever, and L'Oreal each began acquiring natural cosmetic brands through the 1960s and 1970s, systematically repackaging them under proprietary trade names. What had been sold for decades as simple plant oil preparations was rebranded as advanced formula, clinical strength, or dermatologist tested. The same underlying chemistry dressed in a lab coat and priced accordingly. The suppression mechanism wasn't a single conspiracy meeting in a boardroom. It was an economic logic playing out across an entire industry simultaneously. Here's how it worked. Curriculum removal. Through the 1960s and 1970s, cosmetic chemistry programs at universities, which had historically included extensive study of botanical ingredients, shifted their funding models toward industry partnerships. Brands funded the research. Brands shaped the curriculum. Graduates entered the industry already fluent in synthetic compounds and unfamiliar with the plant-based alternatives that had been standard a generation earlier. Regulatory capture. The FDA's GRACE, generally recognized as safe and effective framework, designed to fast-track approval of well-established ingredients, was gradually amended through industry lobbying to require expensive clinical trial packages even for natural compounds with centuries of documented use. The result? A natural ingredient that costs $2 per ounce to produce now requires $38 million in regulatory submissions to make approved therapeutic claims. Small producers can't afford it. Only corporations can. So only corporations claim the anti-aging market, the primitive narrative. Perhaps the most effective suppression tool was cultural. Beginning in the 1980s, major advertising campaigns explicitly positioned natural, plant-based skincare as primitive, unscientific, and inadequate, the kind of thing your grandmother might have used before real science arrived. This framing was enormously successful. An entire generation of consumers was trained to distrust the cheap and trust the clinical sounding. Algorithm dominance. In the modern era, skincare advertising is the single largest category of paid social media promotion. When you search for anti-aging solutions online, you see brands. Not because brands work better, because brands pay to be seen. The cheap, unpatentable alternatives don't have marketing budgets. They don't have influencer contracts. They just sit on grocery store shelves for $4 a bottle, outperforming the $200 serums that crowd every ad in your feed. Think about what that means for your own spending. The average American woman spends $3,200 per year on skincare products. If even half of that spend is on products whose active mechanism is replicable by a 2-ingredient formula costing under $5, that's $1,600 per year that went not to your skin, but to a corporation's bottom line. That's not a mistake. That's a business model. All right, you've waited long enough. Every ancient civilization we talked about, the Egyptian healers, the Persian physicians, the Ayurvedic practitioners, the Cherokee medicine keepers, the Heian court women of Japan, every single one of them across thousands of years and thousands of miles, they were all using variations of the same 2 ingredients, castor oil and vitamin E oil. That's it. That is the formula. Cold-pressed, hexane-free castor oil, the thick amber-colored seed oil derived from Ricinus communis, whose primary active compound is that ricinoleic acid we discussed, paired with pure vitamin E oil, or tocopherol acetate, the fat-soluble antioxidant that neutralizes the free radicals destroying your skin's collagen architecture every single day. You can buy both at any pharmacy, any grocery store, any Walmart or Target. Combined, they cost between $6 and $12 total, and a bottle of each will last you 3 to 4 months of nightly use. Compare that to La Mer Regenerating Serum at $385 per ounce, or Estee Lauder Advanced Night Repair at $110 for 50 ml, or the average anti-aging routine, cleanser, toner, serum, moisturizer, eye cream, which runs the average woman over $250 per month, for what is, at the molecular level, largely the same lipid barrier repair and antioxidant delivery that 2 bottles from the pharmacy aisle provide. Here's exactly how to use it. Step 1, timing. Use this formula at night. Castor oil is thick and occlusive. It's not a daytime formula. Apply it as the last step of your evening routine after cleansing. Step 2, mixing ratio. Combine 2 parts castor oil to 1 part vitamin E oil in a small, dark glass dropper bottle. Shake well. The vitamin E oil thins the castor oil slightly, improving spreadability while preserving its barrier-forming properties. Step 3, application. Take 3 to 4 drops into clean, dry palms. Press palms together to warm the oil. You'll notice it becomes slightly more fluid and takes on a subtle, earthy scent. Press the mixture gently onto the face and neck using upward strokes. Do not rub aggressively. The goal is even distribution across the skin surface. You'll feel the oils absorb within 10-15 minutes. Castor oil is denser than most plant oils, so initial application will feel richer than you're used to. Step 4, eye area. Use a single drop on the fingertip for the under eye area. This is where vitamin E's free radical scavenging is most visible over time, as the under-eye skin is thin and highly susceptible to oxidative damage. Step 5. Frequency. Every night for the first 2 weeks. After that, 4 to 5 nights per week is sufficient for maintenance. Most users report visible improvement in skin texture and reduction in fine lines within 3 to 4 weeks of consistent use. A woman in her early 60s in rural Vermont, a retired nurse named Patricia, began this formula after her dermatologist quoted her $800 for a series of chemical peel treatments targeting the deep smile lines around her mouth. After 6 weeks of nightly application, the lines she'd photographed at week 1 had visibly softened. She spent $9. Castor oil is comedogenic for some people, meaning it can clog pores in individuals with acne-prone or very oily skin. If you're in that category, reduce the ratio to 1.1 castor to vitamin E, or apply only to the neck, décolletage, and eye area rather than full face. This formula will not eliminate deep expression lines or replace the structural collagen loss that requires medical intervention. What it will do is slow the ongoing oxidative damage that accelerates aging, maintain the skin's moisture barrier, and deliver antioxidant protection at depth, the foundational work that no skincare routine can afford to skip. Here is what I want you to take away from this. An Egyptian healer mixing plant oils in a clay bowl 3,300 years ago didn't have a chemistry degree. She didn't have a double-blind placebo trial. What she had was observation, tradition, and the wisdom to trust what worked, passed down, refined, and confirmed across centuries. Denham Harmon gave us the molecular explanation in 1956. The ancient world gave us the practice thousands of years before that. The only thing that changed between then and now is that someone figured out how to put a $385 price tag on the same result. You don't have to participate in that anymore. 2 bottles, under $12, 30 seconds before bed. That's the entire formula the world's most sophisticated skincare marketing machine spent decades and billions of dollars making sure you'd never take seriously. Share this with someone whose bathroom shelf is full of things that aren't working. Put it in the comments if you already knew about castor oil and you're watching people around you overspend every month. And if you try this for 30 days and you see what I'm describing, come back and tell me. Because the most powerful thing you can do in a $240 billion industry built on manufactured insecurity is to simply not need them anymore.